Welcome all my dear students. We are studying electric charges and field of class 12. In the last class we have studied about electric flux and from there we studied Gauss theorem. We have applied Gauss theorem for simple systems and today we will study about more applications of Gauss theorem, how to apply it. Okay, so before we start I will ask you a simple question. So suppose if no charges are enclosed by a Gaussian surface. I repeat, if no charges are enclosed by a Gaussian surface, does that mean that electric field is also zero for the surface? Okay, so if no charges are enclosed, that means flux is zero, phi equals to integration E dot ds will be zero. But this equation does not mean that electric field has to be zero. It's not compulsory for the electric field to be zero, right? It can be a case that electric field and area vector, they are perpendicular to each other. Okay, or it can also be a case that there are charges which are outside the Gaussian surface. So those charges will have an electric field and that electric field will not vanish out. So obviously electric field can be there, or suppose, but the reverse is true, means if electric field is zero, then there will be no charges. But if charge is zero, we cannot say that electric field is zero. Suppose you have a Gaussian surface and inside the Gaussian surface you have two charges and the third charge is located outside the Gaussian surface near to it. So that does not mean that the third charge will not contribute to the electric field. The force which is being exhibited by the third charge on the other two charges, that cannot vanish out, right? So that means all three charges, they will produce electric field and the net resultant of the electric field in the system is for all the charges which are there. So let us start. So in the last class, we have calculated electric flux for a closed system. And there we have seen that electric flux for a closed system comes to be zero until and unless we don't keep the charge inside the closed surface. If the charge is being enclosed by a closed surface, then those charges which are enclosed, which are inside a system, those charges will be responsible for the net flux in the system. Okay, and from there we got Gauss theorem. These things are already done in the last class. You can see the previous video. So the Gauss theorem or Gauss law states us that the net flux in the system is 1 by epsilon naught, the total charge q which is enclosed within the system. And if you remember that the Gauss theorem helps us to find out electric field in a more easier way. Previously we used to consider an elementary portion, and for that elementary portion we need to calculate the elementary electric field, then the integration of electric field was done and then the net electric field was calculated. But here what you need to enclose the charge. So if you remember this sum, this has also been done in the previous class. We have taken a charge q which is being kept on the topmost portion of a cylinder of length L. Okay, so what is our objective? Our objective is to find out the net flux for this charge q through this system. So if we have to find out the flux with help of this Gauss theorem, then we need to consider a imaginary surface that is known as Gaussian surface, with the help of which we will be enclosing this charge q. This charge q will be enclosed within a system, right? So we are doing something, we are drawing a cylinder above the cylinder. Okay, this particular cylinder is your Gaussian surface, is the imaginary surface with the help of which we can enclose this charge q. And if you see this Gaussian surface which is being drawn, it has a symmetry. This is also length L. We are considering that the Gaussian surface or the Gaussian cylinder is also having a length L. So we are maintaining a symmetry and by somehow we are enclosing this charge q. So if the charge q is enclosed, then we can apply Gauss theorem. Okay, therefore the net flux through this total system, through this both of the cylinder, will be phi equals to q by epsilon naught. But according to my question, I need to find out the flux only through one system, that is only through one cylinder, only through this one, not through this one. Okay, if we have to find out the flux only through this cylinder, then phi equals to half Q by epsilon naught. For both of the cylinder, I will be getting my answer phi equals to Q by epsilon naught applying Gauss theorem. But only for one cylinder, it will be half Q by epsilon naught. So in this way, by considering imaginary Gaussian surface, we can easily calculate flux for a system. We can easily calculate electric field for a system. Right? Only the thing which needs to be kept in mind that it tells us that the charges which are there inside the system, over here you can see that these 4 charges are responsible for the net flux in the system, not the charges which are there outside. The flux is only for these 4 charges. Okay, so we will be using, or we will be taking help of the Gaussian surface in such a way that we can enclose the charge and we can apply this Gauss theorem. In that case, it will be easier for us to calculate the net flux. It will be easier for us to calculate the electric field as well. Now, this Gauss theorem, it is applicable everywhere, but it is not useful everywhere. That means while choosing a Gaussian surface, we need to be careful. We need to make a wise decision. Okay, in such a way we need to choose a Gaussian surface that it will be useful to us. The integration of this ds, if electric field is uniform, this integration of ds should be easier to us. Okay, so in a way, in a wise way, we need to choose this Gaussian surface. It is applicable everywhere, but it is not useful everywhere. This thing needs to be kept in mind. So while you choose your Gaussian surface, you have to be careful. You need to make a wise decision. Okay, so there are few steps to choose a Gaussian surface. First of all, you know that Gaussian surface should be an imaginary surface. It's an imaginary surface. Okay, we are taking an imaginary surface to enclose a charge, but the imaginary surface which you are taking should be a closed surface, right? You cannot take any open surface as your Gaussian surface. It should be a closed surface. Okay, secondly, it should be symmetrical, right? In this case, you see we have taken a cylinder. Okay, or if you remember when we have done these sums for cube, if I keep a charge q over here, or if I keep a charge q on the vertex, we have enclosed this charge q with help of another q which is symmetrical. We have not chosen any non-uniform surface. Okay, we should always choose a symmetrical surface. There is another help of choosing symmetrical surface, that is if this is a sphere and an isolated charge q is being enclosed within it. That means I am trying to tell you that this particular sphere is a Gaussian surface and an isolated charge q is being placed within this system. So in that case, what is happening, if you see, this will be the electric field. So we will be considering in most of the cases that the electric field is directed radially outward, and you see the electric field is symmetrical everywhere. Okay, and theta, or rather I can say the direction of the area vector at all the points are also symmetrical. So theta, the angle between E and ds, they are not changing the angle between electric field and area vector. Okay, that is symmetrical, or that is maintaining its symmetry at each and every point. Clear? Secondly, while we are choosing a Gaussian surface, it can be combination of more than one surface. If I choose a sphere, it's combination of a single surface. But if I choose a cylinder, this is one surface, the curved portion is one surface, and the lower base is a surface. Okay, so I am choosing two kinds of surface here, the flat surfaces and the curved surface. So it can be a combination of two or more surfaces. Now something needs to be kept in your mind while you apply Gauss theorem. This particular ds is the area of your chosen Gaussian surface. Okay, this ds is the area of the Gaussian surface. And the charge q, if you see, this charge q is also enclosed charge. Enclosed charge means the charge which is being enclosed inside the Gaussian surface. Okay, area of the Gaussian surface means only that much area which is there inside your imaginary boundary. It should not be outside your imaginary surface. There can be areas outside the imaginary surface also, but while you are applying Gauss theorem, your ds is the area of the Gaussian surface and your charge q is the enclosed charge, the charge which is there only inside the Gaussian surface. There can be charge outside the Gaussian surface as well, but your q charge means the enclosed charge which is there inside your chosen Gaussian surface. So if you consider this case, see here I have drawn a sphere and the sphere is having positive charge. Okay, I can consider it's a non-conductor, so charges are there all over it. Okay, the charges are not conducted only on the outer surface, the charges is distributed throughout its volume. Hope you know this, that for a conductor the charge is there only on the outer surface, electric field inside is 0, but if you consider a non-conductor, electric field inside is not 0 because the charges, they do not have the capability to conduct on the outer surface. So for a non-conductor, the charges will be there all over its volume. So we are considering that this is a sphere and it's a non-conductor. Now this sphere has a original radius capital R. I need to calculate a electric field at point P. Suppose I need to calculate an electric field at this point P which is r distance away. Okay, this is small r distance away from the center. Clear? So this is the case where small r is greater than capital R. So I need to calculate the electric field outside my sphere. So what should I do? I need to draw a Gaussian surface, imaginary surface, and remember, while you draw your Gaussian surface, how will you determine? For this case, for a sphere, the most symmetrical or the most clever decision will be to draw a sphere. Okay, if I draw a circle, it is going to enclose it. If I draw a sphere, if I put this sphere inside another sphere, inside another imaginary sphere, that will be the best decision to make for my Gaussian surface. So while drawing the Gaussian surface, remember one thing, how will you choose the radius? Will this be this small or will it be very big? How will you know the radius? You need to find out electric field at point P. So your Gaussian surface should pass through that point P. Okay, where you need to calculate your electric field, your Gaussian surface should pass through that point. Clear? Now, in this case, now if I want to apply the Gauss theorem in this case, then what did I told you? This ds is the area of the Gaussian surface. So I consider E. Then what will be my ds? My ds will be 4 pi r square. Right? And how much charge is being enclosed? The charge is being enclosed only for the sphere having radius capital R. There is no charge here. Okay, this space is having no charges. Only charge is there inside this sphere. So this is my enclosed charge. This is the enclosed charge which is there inside the Gaussian surface. So my net charge, if I write 1 by epsilon naught q inside. So what is my inside charge? My inside charge is, if I consider rho, volume charge density for the sphere, 4/3 pi capital R cube. Okay, capital R cube. Why? Because only this much portion contains the charge. Now in this case, if I consider that I need to find out the electric field here, okay, which is small r distance away. So in this case, my R, capital R, is much greater than small r. what will I do? I will draw an imaginary Gaussian surface which will pass through the point where I need to calculate my electric field. Now, in this case, E into, what is the radius? Small r is the radius of the Gaussian surface. Okay, not the capital R. Capital R is the actual radius. Small r is the radius. So it will be E into 4 pi small r square, right, into enclosed charge. Enclosed charge, the charge which is being there inside the Gaussian surface. See, there are charges outside the Gaussian surface as well, but while using Gauss theorem, I will consider only that amount of charge which is there inside my imaginary surface. Okay, so rho, if its volume charge density is rho, 4/3 pi small r cube. Hope it's clear to you. So, while you choose a Gaussian surface, these are the things which needs to be kept in your mind. And this point is already being discussed. Gaussian surface should pass through the point where you calculate the electric field. Let us proceed now. So, in the previous class, we have calculated flux for simple systems. Okay, by somehow we have done something with the help of which we have enclosed the charge and we have applied Gauss theorem. We have calculated the net flux. So today what we are going to do, we will study the applications of Gauss theorem for a complicated systems as well, not for such simple systems. And with the help of this Gauss theorem, we will be calculating electric field. Okay. In all these cases, whatever cases we study, we will be studying the case for isolated positive charge Q, for an infinitely long charge conductor. So we are taking a point P where you have to calculate the electric field for all the cases which we will be studying. At point P, we will be calculating electric field. So I have plus Q charge and I need to calculate electric field at point P. Let us consider that this point P is r distance away. Okay. So this charge needs to be enclosed and I need to enclose it in such a way that the calculation of electric field becomes easier to me. So the best decision which I can take is to draw a sphere. Right, while you will be drawing a sphere, you will take the help of your pencil and you will draw a complete symmetrical sphere. Hope you can understand here. It should be symmetrical. Everywhere the radius is r. Okay, it's not looking so, but everywhere the radius should be r. Okay, so here the charge Q, this is the direction of the electric field which is radially outward. And to calculate the electric field, I am choosing a small elementary portion. Let us choose the small elementary portion is ds. So this is E vector, this elementary portion is ds vector. Okay, so for this small elementary portion, I can calculate the flux is d phi. I can consider that the flux is d phi. So d phi equals to E dot ds. Clear? Now, what is the angle between E and ds? 0 degree. So cos 0 degree is 1. So I can simply write E ds. Okay. So if I have to integrate, then phi is integration of d phi equals to integration of E ds. Right. Now it's a closed surface. Next, electric field uniform comes outside the integration ds. So this can be written as E into ds is what? 4 pi r square for the sphere. And This is my net flux. So phi equals to, we know electric field for an isolated charge is 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught q by r square into 4 pi r square. So if I deduct this one, if I deduct here also, sorry, epsilon naught will be there. 4 pi gets deducted, r square and r square gets deducted. So I am getting q by epsilon naught, right? So phi equals to q by epsilon naught. I am proving Gauss theorem, I am proving Gauss law in this way. Now as I told you, we will be calculating electric field. So if I have to calculate electric field, then what needs to be done? Okay, I am doing it here only. Phi equals to E vector ds equals to q by epsilon naught. Okay, E into 4 pi r square into q by epsilon naught. So electric field will be how much? 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught q by r square. So if you remember, we have calculated electric field previously for an isolated charge. See, the same thing is coming while we are applying Gauss theorem. Okay, now let us move to the next case. In the next case, we are taking an infinitely long charge conductor. As you can see, the length of the conductor, it's a charge conductor, but it's an infinitely long conductor. Its length extends from minus infinity to plus infinity. And I have to calculate the electric field at a point P, which is r distance away or x distance away from the system, from this charge. Okay, which is a certain distance away from the charge. So let us calculate the distances. Now here again we need to enclose this charge. So what will be the best way to enclose this charge? If you have a wire, right, and you have to choose a method in which you can wrap or in which you can cover all the charges. So what is the best way to do? Suppose if you have a pen, so there is a refill inside the pen, so that can be considered as a charge conductor. Okay, so if you wrap it up, if you wrap this wire with a cylinder, then it will be a best way to enclose all the charges, best way to cover up all the charges. So we will take a Gaussian surface which will be a cylindrical surface. In such a way we will use it, or we will take a cylindrical surface so that all the charges they get enclosed. Okay, all the charges they get enclosed. We are wrapping up this wire with a cylindrical. So as I told you, your Gaussian surface should pass through the point. So we are taking a cylinder. Just a minute, let me draw the diagram. So we are taking the cylinder as our Gaussian surface. Clear? And we will be calculating electric field at point P, which is r distance away. It's a symmetrical surface. On both the sides, this is r distance away. The radius is r. The circular base is having radius r. And we are taking that L is the length of the cylinder. Okay. Now, if you see, this Gaussian surface is not having only one surface. It is having a curved portion. There are three surfaces. It is having a curved portion. If you consider this particular pen, so there is a curved portion for this pen. It's not a cylinder, but still, if it's a cylinder, then there will be a topmost portion and there will be a base. So there is a base, there is a topmost portion, both the portions are flat, and there is a curved portion. Okay, so area vector, the directions of the area vector are different. if I consider here an elementary portion ds, right? So for this particular elementary portion, this will be the direction ds vector. For this particular portion, this will be the direction of the ds vector. Wherever I take the elementary portion, only this will be the direction. Outward normal to the surface gives you direction for your area vector. Similarly, here also you will get the direction of your area vector ds vector. Now, it's a long wire, okay? So how will the electric field be? For a long wire, I told you that the electric field will comes out like spikes coming out, okay? From everywhere it will come out. So this will be the direction of electric field, okay? In this way, I will have my direction of electric field. The electric field will be in this direction. The electric field will be in this direction, right? The electric field from the curved portion will come out in this way. Here I have the direction of electric field, and here I have the direction of electric field. Isn't it? Okay. So, if I have to apply Gauss theorem, that is E dot ds. Now, this E dot ds, I can write E dot ds cos theta. Now this E dot ds is responsible for three types of portion, for this top, base and curved. So let us come here. We will do the calculation here. So E dot ds vector can be written as the topmost portion, E dot ds, the base, and the curved portion. See, for the top, E and ds they are making angle 90. For base also they are making angle 90. But for curved portion, everywhere, wherever you take the elementary area in the curved portion, each and everywhere you will get to see, if you find it in this way, if you place the elementary portion here, if you consider an elementary portion on the topmost portion, means on the above the curved surface, then also what will you get to see? This will be the direction of electric field, and similarly this will be the direction of your area vector. So in all the cases, the direction of area vector and electric field are same. So they are making an angle 0 degree. So this can be written as E ds for top is cos 90 degree, right? E ds cos 90 degree for base as well, and for curved portion E ds cos 0 degree, okay? So cos 90, this also becomes 0 for cos, this is curved. So we are getting electric field only for the curved surface, right? Only for the curved surface we will be getting electric field. But we are not getting electric field for this top and for this flat base, okay? So according to Gauss theorem, this is equals to Q by epsilon naught. Now E comes out of the integration ds Q by epsilon naught. This can be written as E ds is what? 2 pi RL into Q by epsilon naught, okay? Now if I consider that lambda is the linear charge density, because it's a line charge, so it will have a linear charge density. So length is L and lambda is the linear charge density. Then the charge Q, this charge Q, if you remember, it's an enclosed charge, okay? So this enclosed charge will have, this Q can be written as lambda L. So in that case we can write this one as E equals to 2 pi RL equals to lambda L by epsilon naught. So L and L gets cancelled out. Hence we get the net electric field. I am writing it here. E equals to lambda by 2 pi epsilon naught r. Okay, 2 pi epsilon naught r. So this is your net electric field for an infinite long straight conductor. And as you can see here, your electric field E is inversely proportional to 1 by r. For an isolated conductor, your electric field is inversely proportional to 1 by it's directly proportional to 1 by r square, inversely proportional to r square. Okay, for an isolated conductor, E is inversely proportional to r square, but for a long conductor, electric field is inversely proportional to r. So electric field is decreasing with distance. If I have to draw the graph between electric field and distance, suppose this is my electric field and this is my r distance, then how will be my graph? This will be the graph decreasing. Okay, now let us move to the next case. So in the next case, we are taking a charged sheet, and again in the same way we are calculating electric field at a certain distance away. At point P we have to calculate electric field. So this is an infinitely charged sheet. Charged sheet means, suppose this paper, okay, this paper is being charged and we have to calculate electric field at point P for this particular paper having negligible thickness or no thickness at all. We are not considering the thickness. It is so thin that it is having negligible thickness. Okay, and we have to calculate the electric field at point P. Suppose here we need to calculate the electric field at point P, which is r distance away. Let us consider the point P. P is r distance away, right? So we have to calculate electric field for this case. Then what needs to be done? Here we will be taking cylinder, okay, cylindrical surface as our Gaussian surface. What we will be doing, we will cut out a small portion of this surface and we will insert a cylinder. Suppose if I take this page, this particular page, and if I cut out this cut out a circular portion of this sheet, and if I insert a cylinder, then it becomes the Gaussian surface. Okay, so the best way, the best choice to take the Gaussian surface is my cylinder. See, if I take any other Gaussian surface, if you take a sphere or if you take something else in this case, then it becomes difficult for you. So what are you doing? You have to take a cylinder and you are inserting the cylinder in such a way. See, the point P is being there inside the Gaussian surface. You are inserting it in such a way that it is crossing the sheet. It's a symmetrical surface. You are inserting a cylinder through the sheet. That means it is coming in this way. This is the sheet and having no thickness, and you are inserting it. So if this is R, this is also R distance away from both the sides. Okay. So you are taking a cylinder as your Gaussian surface, and for this enclosed Gaussian surface, for this cylinder, you will be calculating your electric field. Clear? So according to Gauss theorem, this is something which is known to us. E dot dA equals to Q by epsilon naught. Here if I consider dA as my area vector, for these flat surfaces. Similar as the previous one. And for the curved surface, let us consider this is dA vector. Now it's a charged sheet. So electric field, suppose if this is a charged sheet, so how will the electric field lines come out? In this way, all the electric field lines will come out from the sheet. Okay, so electric field lines will come out in this way. So here if you see electric field, they are along the same direction with the area vector, but for the curved surface, the electric field is making an angle 90 degree. Okay, so here again I will be getting three portion. I will be getting these two flat portions and I will get a curved portion. So let us mark it as 1, 2 and 3. So I can write that EDA for portion 1, EDA for portion 1, you see both E and DA, they are along the same direction, cos 0 degree. Then for portion 2, EDA, cos 0 degree. Then for portion 3, EDA, cos 90 degree, equals to Q by epsilon naught, right? So cos 90 is 0, so I will be getting, E will come out. If I do the integration of dA, it will become A. This is cross sectional area A plus EA equals to Q by epsilon naught. Hence I can write 2EA equals to Q by epsilon naught, right? Now again, if I consider that this sheet is having a surface charge density sigma, so this Q can be written as sigma A by epsilon naught. So in that case, what am I getting? My electric field will become sigma by 2 epsilon naught. So here few things need to be observed. First of all, you are getting the electric field for this particular area and for this particular area. See, if you consider a sheet, if this is a sheet, right, and this sheet is being charged, so you will get electric for this area, you will get electric field for this area. Okay, both the areas they have charge. Charges are there on this surface, charges are there on this surface as well. So I am getting 2EA, electric field for this surface and for this surface, right? Okay, and this Q equals to sigma A. Sigma A, this area is what? If I cut out, suppose for this sheet, where am I getting the electric field? If I cut out a circular portion, out from this sheet, so this particular circular portion is having area A. Okay, so sigma A, the charge Q is sigma A by epsilon naught. So E equals to sigma by 2 epsilon naught. Hope it's clear to you. Now you see, previously for a isolated charge, isolated positive charge, electric field was varying with your distance, as well as for your infinitely long charge conductor, electric field was varying with distance. For isolated charged point charge, it was varying 1 by r square, and for an infinitely long conductor, it was varying with 1 by r. Here if you get to see, electric field is not depending on the distance. Okay, whether are you taking your point P r distance away, whether you are taking your point P 2r distance away or 3r distance away, it is not depending, or whether you are taking it's very near to r by 2, it is not depending on this factor, right? So what we have studied previously, we have studied that electric field, we have studied Coulomb's law. There we have got to see that forces, it depends on the distance, but here something happens which is quite shocking for us. Electric field is not depending. Now if you see this equation, your sigma, that is charge density, is constant. Permittivity, okay, for a medium, permittivity is constant. So that means electric field outside the sheet is constant. Wherever you take the distance, your electric field will be constant. And this particular electric field is applicable when you take the sheet which is infinitely long. Infinitely long means your Gaussian surface or your distance where you are calculating your electric field, that is small compared to your sheet. Your sheet is very long, your sheet is very large compared to the distance where you are calculating your electric field. Suppose you have a very big sheet, right, and you are calculating electric field just 2 millimeter above. Suppose this is the sheet, but you are calculating electric field just 2 millimeter above it. So that is what? That is very small. The distance is very small compared to the sheet. So the sheet appears to infinite for you. So here, why your electric field is not depending on the distance and why electric field is constant. See, throughout, outside the sheet, wherever you take the distance, it's constant. And this is applicable when you are taking an infinite sheet. So why this is constant? It's a way of understanding it. Suppose if you take, suppose this is your sheet and the sheet is having plus charges. The sheet is positively charged. So you have to calculate electric field at this point. Let us consider to calculate electric field at point P1. So at point P1, if you have to calculate electric field, what you will be doing? You will place a point charge, isolated point charge, and the point P1, the electric field which will be generated at this point, that electric field will be only because of the charges which are being enclosed. Suppose this is the only amount of charge which is being enclosed, right? Okay, here the electric field which you will be getting will be for the small amount of charge which is being enclosed. Now if you take the point here P2 and here you place your point charge and you need to calculate the electric field. So here your electric field will be for this amount of charges. You can consider this basis as the this area to be the area of the area which is responsible for the electric field. For point P1 only this amount of charge is responsible to create electric field at point P1. But for point P2, if you see, many charges are being enclosed or many charges are responsible for creating an electric field at point P2. That means we know electric field is inversely proportional to 1 by r square when Q is constant, right? But in this cases, for a sheet, what is taking place? You see, here you are taking the distance less. So electric field should be more. Here you are taking the distance more. So electric field should be less. So for point P2, the distance is more. The electric field is becoming less. The electric field should become less. But that amount of electric field or an amount of electric field is getting added because of the more amount of charge. Clear why it is being constant everywhere? Here you see the distance is less. Okay. So that means electric field should be more. But electric field is getting, that amount of electric field is getting subtracted because of less charge enclosed. Because charges, they create electric field. Here, due to distance, due to more distance, your electric field should be less. But the amount by which electric field should be less, okay, that amount by which electric field should be less, that amount is getting added. Okay, the amount by which electric field should be less, by that amount the electric field is getting added due to more charge enclosed. Here, because of small distance, you see, the electric field should be more, but some amount of electric field or that amount of electric field which is becoming more, that amount of electric field is getting subtracted due to less charge. Right? So here the charge which is being enclosed by the system keeps on varying if you place a point charge, and hence you can see that it is not depending on the distance. It is depending on the amount of charge which is getting enclosed, right? So your Q is not constant, your Q is varying, and hence your electric field for a thin sheet, that is constant outside. Okay, so this is the case where we are considering that your sheet is having no thickness, absolutely no thickness is there. But now if I consider a case where your sheet will have a thickness, let us consider your sheet is having a thickness T. Okay, this is the case, your sheet is having a thickness T, and there are two cases possible when your sheet is a conductor and when your sheet is non-conductor. If your sheet is conductor, first case, let us consider that your sheet is conductor. So we know electric field inside a conductor is 0. But if it's a non-conductor, then we will be getting electric field inside it as well. Clear? So the charges or the electric field will be because of the charges which will be there on the outer surface. Okay, so if this is your suppose this is your sheet and this sheet is having a thickness, this is the thickness, right? This amount is the thickness. So the electric field is responsible for the charges which are on this side as well as for the surface which are on this side. Okay, so we have to calculate the electric field. So the best Gaussian surface which we can consider in this case is again a cylinder. Okay, again if you get to see, this cylinder is passing through this conductor sheet. Here your electric field and ds, they are along the same direction. Here through the curved portion, what is happening? This is your direction for area vector, and this will be the direction for your electric field, making an angle 90 degree. So if we do all these things, again we will get to see that our electric field is responsible for two surfaces. Okay, for this surface and for this surface. Therefore we have done the derivation just like that previous derivation, it will come 2EA. Okay, 2EA equals to Q by epsilon naught. So this can be written as 2EA. Okay, and Q is the enclosed charge. So if sigma is the surface charge density, sigma A by epsilon naught, 2 sigma A. Why 2? Why a 2 is coming? See, you will get area for this surface as well as for this surface. The charges are there on two separate surfaces, not on one surface. So from here you can calculate your electric field. So after that, your A, 2 gets cancelled out. We can write this in this way as well by putting all the values. So we get therefore it comes. Okay, here also you will get to see that the electric field is constant, right? Sigma, epsilon naught, they are all constant. So when you are moving outside your conductor, your electric field will become constant, just like the previous case. But now if it's a case of a non-conductor, if it's conductor, then electric field inside is 0. But if it's a non-conductor, then electric field inside is not 0. So this is the rule of calculating electric field inside the conductor as well as for outside the conductor. So now if I have a sheet, now I am considering the case of a non-conductor. In case of non-conductor, I will be getting electric field inside as well as outside. So if I have a sheet, charges are distributed throughout its volume. I need to calculate electric field outside. Again I will take, this is also known as pill box. Okay, it looks like a pill box which is being inserted through the thickness. The thickness is T, right? So electric field will be for this surface as well as for this surface. So just like the previous one, 2EA equals to Q by epsilon naught. Okay, so here if rho is the volume charge density, having rho volume, rho is the volume charge density, and if I consider the area to be A, then it can be written as rho AT by epsilon naught. So E becomes rho T by 2 epsilon naught. Again you see, electric field is constant outside the non-conductor as well. Clear? See, rho is constant, thickness is constant, epsilon naught permittivity is also constant. But now if I have to consider it inside the thin conducting sheet, suppose this is my non-conductor sheet, and I have drawn a central axis y dash through this, and this is my imaginary Gaussian surface. The total length is A. I am considering from the axis it is A by 2. Here it is A by 2. Okay, thickness is T. So again, for two surfaces and charges, they are distributed throughout. So 2EA Q by epsilon naught. Okay, so 2EA rho, if A is the cross section area, into what is the height? A is the height. So this can be written as E equals to rho A by 2 epsilon naught. So here you see electric field depends on the distance. Inside the conductor, for a sheet, inside a non-conductor, for a sheet, the electric field depends on the distance. Inside a conductor, your electric field is 0, but for a non-conductor, inside it, your electric field depends on the distance. See, if I increase this Gaussian cylinder, okay, so area A will be the total length, right? So it will depend on the distance. How much distance? So that means E is directly proportional to A means what? As I will go from the central axis, if I move towards the surface, my electric field will keep on increasing. Clear? The more I move towards my surface, my electric field will keep on increasing. Here you have minimum electric field, and then as you move towards the surface, your electric field is increasing. Then you are coming to the surface, it's becoming maximum, and after that your value of electric field remains constant outside the surface. So if we have to draw the graph for electric field and the distance, for a non-conductor, this axis represents electric field, this represents the distance. I can write it as A as well. Suppose if A is the distance and this is the electric field E. So this is A by 2 from central axis. Okay, this axis is y dash and this is x dash x. So from central axis, as you move A by 2 distance away, electric field becomes maximum. Electric field increases, keeps on increasing. Then comes to the surface and it becomes maximum, and that is the value which remains constant outside the surface as well. Okay, so I consider this as my A by 2. Here I consider it to be minus A by 2. So inside, electric field keeps on increasing and it gains a particular value, rho A by 2 epsilon naught, this one. Okay, and then it becomes constant. Here also rho A by 2 epsilon naught on the other side, on the negative x-axis, and then it becomes constant. Minus rho A by 2 epsilon naught, electric field is on the negative direction of x-axis, right? So for a conductor and for a non-conductor, you have to calculate electric field with help of your Gaussian surface for a sphere as well as for a cylinder. So the next video will be extension of this video only, where I will be showing you the case for a cylinder, okay, for a conducting spheres, or rather I will be showing you the case for a sphere. So we will be doing it for a conducting sphere and for a non-conducting sphere. Same is the case which is applicable for cylinder as well. Okay, so you will try on your own the case of cylinder. So in the next class we will be calculating electric field with help of Gauss theorem for a sphere, for a conducting and for a non-conducting sphere, inside the sphere and outside the sphere. Thank you, students.